We're going to enter the natural world in this lesson. It takes a particular kind of mindset, perhaps, away from some grandiose mountain scene or some beautiful color still life setup. But tuning one's mind into the natural world can be very satisfying, and it can also help us to just be observant to what's around us. The colors are more subtle. The shapes are not regular. They're very, tend to be at times asymmetrical. And so it's a good challenge in learning proportion, learning to draw from life, because these things are readily available. These are that's probably a turkey bone. So I have an assortment of things here. We have feathers. We do have some nice color options with these feathers. And let's see, have a wonderful, some kind of animal here that was found near someone's barn. This would be quite complex to draw, so one might just tackle just the antlers here and the beautiful fluid shape that it makes. And if you can get a little shadow going on, that's kind of fun too. The starfish, the challenge here, of course, it's got some volume to it. It's kind of hard to see that. I'm in some nice strong sunlight here so you can see it. But the other challenge would be to get these proportions correct, the proportion of the legs to the central body. So that'd be a good exercise in drawing from life there. Oh, actually the back is even more interesting. So if I were drawing this, I might draw the back. Shells are some of my favorites. I used to collect them on the East Coast. And one of the things I love about shells is they can be done literally and look like a shell, or they can be done to have fun with abstract shapes taken from nature. In other words, using this literally and drawing it exactly as it is, but when it's finished, it has a nice abstract look to it, as in drawing a pastel I did a number of years ago. That is actually what that shell fragment looked like, but I just loved how it had such a fluid, organic, but also non-literal look, even though it was literally an image of that shell. Feathers are great exercise in observing and getting shapes. This is one that was done by a student in CLL last year. And you can see how this student observed, this isn't the same feather, but observed groupings of feather strands, I guess you'd call them here, so that he didn't draw every single strand, but you still get a sense that there are numerous strands in there. Also a very nice fluid line of the, I don't know what you call that part, the stem of the feather. I don't know what the technical word is. This one would give some fun with the fluffy stuff. So you could get both the groupings and then add some of this fluffy stuff with colored pencil or graphite, either one. Simple vines can be fun to draw. And the thing about drawing these sorts of things is, if you're a little off in your proportions, it usually doesn't matter. Oops. Because if you get the basic shape of the leaves and so forth, but you're a little off, you know, this leaf is a little further away from this leaf than what you're seeing, it doesn't really matter. So it gives you a little bit of freedom. And if you're into roots, this would be a great study to do. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, this is not actually a shell or a bone. It is a plastic replica of a bone, but talk about complex. This is very complex, but no matter which way you turn it, there are interesting things to look at. So if you're interested in the human body, this would be a fun thing to draw. And also, if you're interested in the human body, shells and bones and feathers are great things to draw for practice because they are so similar to the human form in their sort of irrational shapes and so forth. So they also make great tonal studies, some shell sketches that I did just to practice observing shape and tone and plane breaks and angles, lots of angles there. Let's see. This is a nice little drawing of a vine in a clay pot, very simple. And who knows what that vine actually looked like. I think the artist, even if they followed the pose that they set up, they might have embellished a little bit and taken some artistic license. And that's the other thing that drawing from life, and particularly from bits and pieces like this, the opportunity it gives us is to learn to pose a still life. That means to set up something that is interesting to draw. Might be interesting to turn this upside down and draw it that way instead of sticking it in the pot. Might be fun to put some of these shapes. Well, there I'm missing the shadow, is completely losing that, so I might want to turn it a little bit so I don't have it in complete shadow. So that's part of posing as well, is coming up with something that's not only interesting but that is achievable. You don't want to set yourself up for something that is impossible to draw. So I had a bunch of bones here. Just drawing that one bone would be interesting to see if I could get the nuances of shapes and so forth. But the other thing I could do is kind of pile them up, which would afford a whole other thing going on. So in drawing something like this, I would again employ all the things that we've talked about. I would be assessing the angles. So I might start out by just getting those angles down. I'm looking through the camera, so I'm getting a little bit of a different image here. And I might just do something really free at first, just to get big shapes. And then I could erase any marks that I don't like there, or I could go in and really begin to observe those forms and get some tone in to indicate the plane breaks, which is what shows how the bone is rounded. And if I didn't like it, I could just do another one, or I could just go on, finish this one and figure out what I learned, and then just go on and do another one. So that's a dip into the natural world as subject matter for drawing.